So this starts out like this.
Cool.
I'll go into the next one, which talks about what I want to do as a speciality.
Yeah.
Do you want me to treat this like a pitch or just like an update?
I don't think it's
do
going
it.
to happen with the
Yeah, give it to me
summarise
like
of
a
the whole
pitch. Do it
year.
as though like a.
Because,
Yeah, go on. Just deliver it like you would if you want.
as I
We're
said,
ready.
Yeah, okay, so the speciality that I want to go into is environmental level design. And the way the world has been created throughout many games has always captivated me, it's always brought my attention. So I feel like that's the way I want to go down career-wise. The way the world is produced via like environments, dungeons, level design, all of that works really well, and Skyrim is one of the key inspirations of the recent games coming out, like the picture of the Heroes of Sovngarde.
Yeah.
Looks really beautiful, really well done, and it's just captivating. So because of that, I feel that as I want to focus on level and environmental design, the MOBA games would be the best choice for this, so I've decided to go down the MOBA route and design a MOBA map. Your typical MOBA games is a 5v5 game on a 3-lane map. The maps typically have 3 separate lanes,
Okay.
and so 3 separate lanes, and then a jungle, which are produced in between the lanes to separate all the lanes out. The goal of it of a MOBA game is to destroy the other team's main structure. So, for example, in League of Legends, it's known as a Nexus, and in Dota 2, it's referred as the Ancient. How it is how it's played is that based on what roles the players are in will determine what type of champion they use. So, for example, a top lane will use a tank or a fighter or a juggernaut, whereas a support will choose a healer. It could be a tank, or someone that just generally buffs allies or debuffs enemies.
Okay.
The roles between top, middle and bot lane are just to get fed. A term just basically mean they have a higher kill or assists and a higher CS or creep score, which is just killing minions. Then the opposite team. The jungle's role is to ensure that these 3 lanes get fed. But they also have to focus on objectives such as the neutral epic jungle monsters. So, for example, in League of Legends, you've got Dragon, Rift Herald, or Baron. And if you get certain dragons, it buffs with gives you buffs depending on the type of dragon you kill, whereas Baron gives you your minions a boost in strength and armor, magic resist. And Rift Herald, if you kill that, you can just summon a Rift Herald, which is like you summon it and then it will just attack a tower to try and help push lanes. Whereas the support role tends to support all the team, but at the beginning of the game, they primarily support the ADC or the attack damage carry, as they are extremely squishy, but they have a high damage output. So they're sort of really primary targets for ganks. which is a term just referring to a champion coming from one lane or the jungle to help a different lane to hopefully get a kill or secure themselves an objective.
Right.
As you can see by the images on here, this was a game that I played, and the difference in items compared to the three roles, which was a jungle, mid, and ADC. So even though this Diana has 2 kills, she's got the basic starting items that you would get. Sorry, not Diana, nearly. She has the basic starting items to help her be quite powerful, whereas Jax is nearly full build.
Yeah.
In the middle part of it, you got the Zoe, which is on the left, which has 1 kill, but she's got somewhat decent items, whereas the Lux on the right has quite powerful items, even though it's only 4 items, 1 being a starting item. She's got boots, which give her more mobility. She's got the little Randuin's cap, which is the little hat, which gives her 120 ability power plus 40% extra as an unique buff. And the Vayne on the left has a lot of the items compared to the Jinx on the right, just because the amount of gold that she has got from kills.
Right.
And on the second picture, just refers to right towards the end of the game, which had the tower difference. So blue team only had 1 tower, whereas red team had 7. The gold difference is near on 10k, and just the difference in kills is quite high. So
yeah,
depending on how well the game is played or how well your team are doing, makes the game a lot easier or harder to win.
Okay.
In the next slide is a short video showing how a game could play out via the map.
Go on
Um,
All day, occasionally unavailable in the mornings.
so it's only a minute long because I've sped it up. But
Space, medium-sized desk.
you can see sort of how all of it is sort of played out, how the jungles always move about,
Yeah.
which is the Jax and the Nidalee. And because it's so fast, it looks just stupidly unreal. But again, this was a 30-minute match.
Yeah. That's quite interesting. So a lot of it happens across the middle, or like diagonal span of the map, really.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the corners.
Yeah. Also, where there's dark patches is the fog of war. So even though we can see it, for example, if a blue team was up in this part, the sort of jungle area, unless there was a ward there, which you can see just like right now at the top, there's like a little bit of extra where there's a blue sort of triangle. That's a ward placement, so you're able to see there. But if they were if a blue team was in the jungle with the red team, wouldn't be able to see them because there's nothing there. So it's all depends on like having how they're displayed map-wise. Market research. So even though the MOBA games popularity spiked in 2014 and has steadily decreased, they are still maintaining their average players per month. For example, the League is roughly 27 million players per month. Dota 2 is roughly Dota 2 and Heroes of the Storm are roughly getting around 300,000 players per month. So even though the popularity has dipped down, it doesn't equate to, that only equates to how many new players and, how often new players are going in per month, whereas the actual averages are still steadily maintained.
So are these mainly free-to-play models? Am I right?
All of these are free to play.
Yeah. but they rely on their income comes from in-game purchases.
Yep, and with bigger games like League of Legends and Dota 2, you have esports, which brings in a massive sum of money.
Okay, yeah.
But for example, if you had a not as popular game, Mech Arena, doesn't have esports, only has a real low average per month, but they still are in the top 10 of MOBA games.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's all with the higher games, it's a lot more money per month. Their overall income is in the 100 millions. I think it worked out as between MMOs and MOBA, they were bringing in a quarter of the gaming industry's sort of global income. So between two genres, they were able to get such a massive amount of income.
Yeah.
There are some real big successes within the MOBAs, as I said, like there's Heroes of the Storm, League of Legends, and there have been a couple of failures. The primary one that I know of is of a DC Comics.
Oh yeah.
They brought out Infinite Crisis. That wasn't really advertised, and instead of focusing on having new heroes or villains coming in as a champion to play, they focused on bringing out multiple skins for favorite heroes. Like within their like whatever their comics were doing favorably on. So for example, Batman, Joker, Superman all had a massive abundance of skins.
Yeah.
Which didn't really play out well. And because of this, according to Steam charts, which is where they were primarily on, in March 2015 they had roughly 4,090 players.
Oh wow.
As an average. A month later they dropped down to 1,700, and then it just continued going down. So it's, there's how to do things right and how to do things wrong, and I feel that Infinite Crisis, even though they're such a massive company, DC is a massive company, they didn't do it right. They focused purely on just getting all these skins out that just was cosmetics that you'd have to buy instead of adding new champions or anything like that. Another company, Marvel, is developing a mobile MOBA game called Marvel Super War. Currently, it's in its betas in selected countries. And the beta was only released on the 19th of December of last year. So after seeing some videos, there does seem to be a lot of positivity about it. But just as a personal view, it does feel still quite clunky. When you're moving, the animations feel slow compared to when you're fighting. So I think there's some work to do there, but overall the positivity of the game has been quite well.
Okay.
I've gone into funding, which would be mainly Kickstarter, as it would have the people that are interested in it being able to help fund it. Due to the fact that this is such, when it comes to servers and all that, constant maintenance of the game up and all that,
Yeah.
The initial income is going to be quite high.
Mhm.
So the initial production cost is going to be quite high. Sorry. So this gives a way for people to help fund it, as well as getting certain benefits.
Yeah.
So I have 6 tiers, plus two types of limited edition. So for tier 1, it's just a thank you email from all the members of the team.
Yeah.
Tier 2, you would get a limited edition in-game skin for a champion, or for all the current champions that are out. So it would be like just sort of a. It would be like every champion would have a certain style of skin that would be sort of like sort of maybe like as a in my head, it's sort of like has like your sort of Kickstarter sort of colours. So it's like a thank you to everyone from Kickstarter, that donated vote. Tier 3 would be a figurine of a champion that would be in the game. Tier 4 would be a refined artwork from an artist which you can request, which would have a signature. So it could be any artwork that you would like. If you wanted just a really detailed Pokeball, or a landscape, whatever you wanted, one of our artists would design it. Tier 5 would be closed alpha testing, and tier 6 would be closed beta testing. And if whatever tier you brought, so if you brought a tier 6, you would get all previous tiers as well.
Cool.
So one at the £5,000 extra would be just having people coming into studio, to a studio to meet everyone. They would be able to bring a friend, but as a bonus, they would also unlock all the champions that were in the game, and any champions that were released over 5 years.
Cool.
This is limited to 10 people every 6 months. So it would be the Kickstarter wouldn't be up too long, but it would be 10 people at a time if they paid 5,000. So if 50 people paid £5,000, it would be 10 people come in at a certain time, and it says every 6 months, but I've miswritten that. It would be for over sort of 6 months, not for every 6 months. And then there'd be 3 people only who would be able to, if they pay 25,000, they would be able to become a champion in game. So they would get like they'd get scans of their face.
Yeah.
And they would get to choose what their weapon is, what their ability is, and they would get continuous updates on what has been produced so far, and then they would be able to give their feedback. So if they didn't like how something was going, they'd be able to give their feedback, and we would cater to that. Plus, because they're paying such a high amount for a game that is typically going to be free to play, they would unlock every champion and skin and anything within the game for forever. They would, like, as long as the game runs, they would get everything from it forever. So that's the idea of funding. Primarily, obviously, as this is just going on to Kickstarter, and this would be an independent project, I would look to have maybe a producer to help fund the initial work as well. But that would be the hopes, and whether or not it would happen is completely different.
Yeah.
So this is why the price ranges are quite high, but the benefits could be are quite good as well.
I don't know if mine will tell me. Oh, I think yours would come with
To
Kuda Course 2560.
to bring about hype in the game, I would this is like during the beta. I would look to sponsor some people to help bring hype towards the game. So, for example, I would like to have people that tend to play MOBA games, but not exclusively. So I wouldn't go for someone that's a League of Legends pro or a Dota pro, because they're going to always be biased towards one or the other. You know. So I'd look at people that would play MOBA games but don't focus their whole career around it. So for Twitch streamers, I would look into Giant Waffle, Savita, Skara, Pokimane, and Lily Pichu, as they're quite well-known Twitch streamers. But the problem with that is the sponsoring was going to cost quite a lot as well.
Okay. What do they typically charge? You know.
Well, I was talking to I wasn't talking. I was watching a podcast, and probably the most expensive person in this list would be Pokimane, who would ask for probably, double digits.
Really? Bloody hell.
Yeah, like they'd be like asking for 50,000 for Pokimane. Lily Pichu and Skara probably about 20,000. It all depends. Yeah, they're quite expensive, but they're extremely well known.
Yeah, you get a lot of exposure.
Exactly. Giant Waffle and Savita would be probably a hefty sum less, maybe about 5 to 10k. They're still well known, but they're relatively small in the sense of everything else.
Okay.
YouTubers that I'd like to sponsor is Gamer Braves. He does a lot of variety, so he does play a lot of MOBA games. But he does a massive variety of games. So he'll play Dota, he'll play League, he'll play any Strife, any MOBA game plus other games as well. So I felt like that would be a good way. Ross Boomsocks, he is primarily a League of Legends YouTuber, and his career is out of playing League of Legends, but he only plays it for fun. That's his whole gimmick. He plays it for fun. So I feel like if he feels like this game would be fun, that would help as well. It's not just about League of Legends. Any game that he finds fun, he could play. Sunday, he's quite a popular YouTuber, primarily for younger audiences, but there are quite a lot of, I'd say, from about 8 to about 14, he's quite popular.
Yeah.
So I'd only be catering to a small percentage of his fan base, because it would be a 13 plus game, but that 13 plus fan base that he has is going to be quite high.
Yeah.
And then for Facebook streamers, you got Disguised Toast. That'd be quite expensive, because he's sort of at the same level as Skara and Lily Pichu. Stone Mountain 64 and Skyway would be quite cheap in that sense. They're Facebook streamers, whereas Disguised Toast left Twitch to go into Facebook streaming. So, he's still extremely well known, which is why that will cost a lot more. Whereas Stone Mountain 64 and Skyway will be excessively cheaper. Yeah, but then there's not as much exposure.
Yeah.
After looking at this, I also thought about investigating sponsored advertisements. So sort of like how Rage Shadow Legends did. They sponsored a massive amount of YouTubers. So this would help me get the hype of the game out to a bigger range of content creators, so it wouldn't just be focused on the gaming channels. It could be a massive variety of channels. It could be cooking channels, drawing channels, and such. So Drawer Jazzer is primarily a art channel, but he does do video game gameplay as well, mainly to do with art. So, but he has been sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, so it shows me that he is willing to look at it as long as he has fun with the game. He would be happy to sponsor it. And Michael Reeves is, again, not going to be as expensive as Lily Pichu or anything, but he typically builds robots, and he's more of a whole adult centered channel. So having him being able to sponsor it would also bring hype towards a different set of target audience. There's my big bibliography, and it says thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay. I think the main thing that I've got the background now, I've got the gist of the justification, and the rationale is really good for what you're looking at.
Yep.
I think we need a bit more clarity in terms of like your angle and what you're going to be producing as part of this and where you're coming at it from. So I know from conversation that you're going to be focusing on level design.
Yeah.
What is your intended outcome? What are you going to make?
Well, typically MOBA games would be sort of fantasy based, so there'd be like trees, forest. I'm going to go in the complete opposite direction and go for a sci-fi sort of MOBA game. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So the map is going to look rather futuristic, hopefully. Thinking about having like holographic floors, and like a way to sort of where it would be like jungle monsters. I'm thinking of having like a hexagonal room, but with like a sort of force field. So if you're in the force field and you're attacking the jungle monster, it would like do damage. But if you leave the force field, the jungle monster would heal back his HP, but you wouldn't be able to be attacked from the monsters.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically the map design is going to be the key element of this, but I also want to have it as, because it's just going to be a map design, I also want it to look like games in place. So I want to have like I want to design sort of like really simplistic sort of minions that I could just sort of have about the lanes to make it look like it's they're fighting and whatnot.
What, so you would put some animation on them?
Not necessarily animation. It may, like, if I have the time to, hopefully, yes, but if not, then it would just have like a still sort of image type of thing of it looking like it's fighting with a different minion. So maybe like a laser fire which has like sort of hit, and like the little sparks of the hit would fly out, but it would just be a still sort of thing.
Okay, cool.
So it simulates the gameplay, but it doesn't actually have the gameplay.
Yeah. So mainly it's just about the actual the map design and
yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Cool. I just worry I don't want you to do something that you're gonna come unstuck with, or like you're gonna bite off too much.
No, I'm primarily going to focus on the map design and the level design, and if I have time afterwards is when I'm going to hopefully do like minions and that.
So mainly just making the terrain and things, and then
and because it's sci-fi,
you're going to do that within Unreal.
So the modeling I'm going to do in Blender, and then I'm going to export it and import it into Unreal, and then have it like that.
I guess you were in at the start when Owain was asking about like access to kit and stuff. Is this all doable? Like, have you got facilities to do it at home?
I've got everything at home. The worst possible thing about that is now it's going to be time because I've got the kids off.
Yeah, cool.
So I may be able to do it. Like time wise, I should like facility wise, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's just going to be like having the same issue I've got, where you got the kids about all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I am going to struggle with is if I wanted to do like a video recording, that's going to be the biggest problem for me because I have no Adobe software. But the email I sent yesterday to you and Owen is hopefully going to be fine, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a server.
Yeah, no, that'll work.
Yeah.
I think the main thing then is if you've got major concerns or issues, just drop me an email.
Yep.
And then we can arrange a time to do this sort of thing, so we can just jump on Teams and I can have a chat and you can show me stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I have started working on a prototype model.
Oh yeah, cool.
Which is like that. So I like
right.
where it's got the two like sort of half octagonal looking thing.
Yeah.
I like the look of that, and I like the look of how the jungle, the empty space in the middle, like the little lines, make it look a bit more diverse. I like how that looks.
Yeah.
But as I've got like, I've written pros, so I like how the lanes are looking at the centre.
Yeah.
Like how it looks in the centre, which is the hexagonal bits.
Yeah.
But I also think that the lanes look too thin, and the jungle look still needs a bit of work.
Is it too like perfect at the moment? Does it need to be a bit?
I want it.
Like
Yeah. So if I just quickly add up Sketchbook, so I basically I sort of just want. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Okay, if I just bring that here quickly.
If you want to take a graphics tablet at home today, you can.
Yeah.
Just get Owain to sign it out.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
I just need to change the mapping of this one. So yeah, so basically what I want like the lanes to sort of look like is like it goes sort of like it has like at the edges it looks sort of like a essentially like a Zelda rupee. Yeah, so it sort of has that sort of look. So it goes like and the lanes all merge into one.
Yeah.
And then at the centre I want it to be like a little bit like octagonal look as well, like it did on the edges.
Yeah, got you.
So I want it.
That was the part of the map that looked good on the last one.
Yeah, so I want it like to do that, and then what I do need to figure out in Blender is how to do octagonal shapes.
Yeah.
Because as I've started doing the basic centerpiece of the map.
Yeah.
The actual spawn area and the base is the bit that's going to be hard because Blender doesn't have any octagonal sort of look.
It probably does if it's the same as Max. If you're working from 2D spline shapes.
Yeah.
If you go for a circle, but with just turning the sides down.
Yeah.
So they normally round. If you start off with a sphere or a circle, it's quite rounded. If you turn that down, you can make an octagon or a pentagon or whatever by just turning the sides down to like 8 and 5 and